Summer is just around the corner, and that means travel will be ramping up very soon. One of the top destinations that's not a tropical island is Paris. If you guys haven't watched any of my travel vlogs, I will link them here above as well as in the description below. I did travel across Europe last year and I spent a week in Paris. Before I went to Paris, I came up with an itinerary of things I wanted to do, and I also did a lot of research on scams and pickpocketing. I heard so many stories about people being victims of these crimes, and I wanted to better prepare myself. Regardless of your destination, you really should be cognizant of your surroundings. Whether it's day or night, crowded or empty, you really have to be aware. I flew into Charles de Gaulle from Copenhagen and I stayed in the 9th arrondissement. After I settled into my hotel room, I did a quick outfit change and I went to Montmartre. Montmartre is notorious for all the scams you've read and are probably heard about in Paris. In my experience, I saw and was approached by some of these scam artists within 5 minutes of arriving to the Sacré-Cœur. So I'll just walk you through what happens. My hotel, it was in the 9th arrondissement, it was Hotel Beige. I walked from my hotel to the Sacré-Cœur. What I did was I walked through this narrow street. It was very crowded. There were so many street vendors as well as shops and restaurants along the side. It was a great area for pickpocketers, and again, I will link my previous video and travel tips as well. So I had my crossbody. It was this snapshot by Marc Jacobs. What I really like about this is the fact that you can adjust it. It is crossbody, but on the top, you'll see that it has a dual zip closure that goes in opposite directions. So this really deters theft. I did a review on this bag and I'll link it here as well, but I kept all my valuables close to me, and I always wore it like this, where my valuables were in a zipper that went in the opposite direction. So it would make it harder for thieves and potential pickpocketers to reach in and unzip it without me noticing. So that's one of the things I did. And I also carried a white tote that had a zipper as well. And it really helped me blend in because a lot of Parisians carry canvas totes. I took it a step beyond and I had a zipper because I've read so many stories and didn't want to be a victim. So I carried that as well as this and didn't have any problems with pickpocketing. Now back to the Sacré-Cœur. So as I was making my way up to the famous basilica, I noticed that there were a lot of games being played on the street. It was what I thought an innocent game, but it's the cup game. So there's a table laid out and they have 3 cups. They're hiding an object in one of the cups and you just have to determine where it is. You place bets, you put your money down, and if you're able to locate the item, you win the money. It seems pretty simple and easy, but these people work in groups. So as a guy is operating the game, you're focused and trying to find where the object is, but his team members, gang members, his colleagues, let's call them, his colleagues are making their rounds and casing the people analyzing the game. So as you're so focused on trying to determine where the object is, they're pickpocketing and snatching your items because you're not paying attention. That's one of the things I saw, and I just avoided it completely. I just went straight towards the basilica, and once I got there, there's steps you have to climb on either side. You have the merry-go-round with the horses in front, and then you have steps on either side. When I went up, I went on the right-hand side. I was approached by a gentleman. This is the closest thing I have, but he'll come up with a piece of yarn, and it's something similar to this. Try to shake your hand or say bracelet. I'm not a rude person, but in Paris, you kind of have to be to avoid being a victim of scams. Once he came up to me, I'm like, no, and I just walked on. I was gung-ho. I knew where I had to be. I had a destination, didn't stop, I didn't give him the time of day. So what happens is they put that piece of yarn around your wrist and they start braiding really fast and you can't let go. Once they finish, what I've heard and read is that they'll demand a payment. You can't take it off because it's made to your wrist. If you don't give them the payment what I've heard is their colleagues are all around and they'll call them over and basically surround you to the point that you're forced to give all of them a payment. That's what I've heard. I don't know if it's true. I was able to avoid that situation. So in Montmartre, but also along the Seine, is a ring scam. What I've read, and I've actually seen it, you'll be walking and all of a sudden you'll hear a clink. Some guy will pick it up and then he'll run up to you and be like, excusez-moi, excusez-moi. And he'll say, is this your ring? And you're like, no, that's not my ring. He'll say, it's yours, it's yours. And then if you keep it, then he'll demand a payment. Follows the same scheme of things. If you don't give him a payment, he'll call his colleagues, surround you, and you're forced to give all of them a payment. Petition scam. And I experienced this at the Louvre. Went there and it was a rainy day. I was able to explore the Louvre and the surrounding areas, take my pictures. I went to grab lunch at a nearby boulangerie. I brought it back to eat right in front of the Louvre pyramids. There's lots of sitting area. You'll notice that towards the afternoon, there's a lot of females that I've noticed. They're holding a clipboard. They have a pen and they'll be like, do you speak English? Do you speak English? Oh, I'll sign up for this charity, help something. There's always a cause and they make it sound as legitimate as possible. But once you take that clipboard, their team members will go around and start pickpocketing you and your family members, your friends, whoever you're with. The lady came up to me. She's like, do you speak English? Please help, please help. I just said no and walked off right away. There's no harm in that. I mean, yes, it's hard to be rude, but sometimes you just have to avoid all this trouble. So that's the petition scam. I mentioned this earlier, but pickpocketing is rampant in Paris. And it happens at all the touristy areas, so the Eiffel Tower, the Sacré-Cœur, the Notre Dame. Any place that has tourists, the malls especially, you'll see people being targeted, especially if you're carrying a lot of designer bags that you just purchased. And there's a specific avenue. There will be crowds, gangs, just sitting in that area waiting for a clueless tourist to come out and they'll target that person. You need to be very aware of your surroundings and know what to do if you are a victim. Last minute tips I want to give is, I know it's easier said than done, but don't act like a tourist and don't dress up like a tourist. Wherever you are, you can probably point out a tourist miles away. They have the cap on, the sneakers, the fanny pack. They have the whole shebang going on. Just try to blend in. Don't stick out like a sore thumb because that really does make you a target. Don't speak English loudly. This definitely points to, oh, they're not a real Parisian. They're here from a different country. Just make you susceptible to any potential threats and scams. It's also this thing where they judge people based on how you look. They'll always try to go towards people who look sympathetic and compassionate because they know you'll either donate, give to charity, and all the sorts. Know how to say no, be firm, and walk away. Avoid super crowded areas, especially with the climate right now. I don't know if the strikes and protests will be over this summer in Paris, but with everything that's going on, just please be careful. With all that said, I did travel to Paris by myself. I know how to read, speak, and listen to French, so that really did give me a leg up. I was able to go out in the daytime, nighttime, and I didn't have any worries. Yes, I was very cognizant. I was always aware of what was around me. I knew where my destination was. I always mapped it out prior. I always create itineraries and plans so I know where I'm going, and then I send it to people as well so they know where I am. There are questionable characters around Paris, as there are in any big city, LA, New York City, Chicago. If you're able to survive in those big cities, you won't have any problems in Paris. If you have any other questions about Paris, please don't hesitate to reach out, leave them in the comments below, and I'll make sure to answer them. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time.